Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.
Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Soon as I pop myself on the screen, I'm looking at what is this button over here? The connection is saying fairly good. It drops down, then it goes back up. I don't know. But yeah, hi everybody. Happy Thursday. One more day till the weekend. Morning from Scotland. Hi, Anthony. Yes. So let me just say this. Good morning to everybody overseas, internationally. Oh, because we are going to be talking about, that's my fan, honey, China. And hello to everybody on X, because we are streaming on X. And hello to everybody on YouTube. Hi, YouTubers. Everybody in the chat, please hit the like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Waiting for the judge to come up. I'm so tired. I always tell him at least 10, 15 minutes before the show start. Log on now, because you know it takes this man forever. He has snail Wi-Fi. Yes. I'm going to talk about his Wi-Fi every time we do a show on Monday and Thursday. I'm going to talk about his Wi-Fi until, he upgrades. So yeah, he will be up shortly. Judge is busy. Yeah, busy trying to log on. So a couple of things we're going to talk about. Main topic, China crisis. Monday, the judge started to talk a little bit about China and Taiwan. And I said, save it for Thursday. I want us to talk about China on Thursday. So that's the main event, but that's going to be later in the show. And it was also breaking news today that the FBI said that, we may have potential Chinese hackers hacking into our system to attack our infrastructure, right? So we're going to talk about that later. Also going to talk about the migrant crisis. That's a never-ending story. This week, illegal migrants call themselves protesting in front of City Hall in New York City for better treatment. Yeah. And then I want to highlight a story coming out of North Carolina, a high school boy who was suspended for using the word illegal alien, right? So that's later. That's going to be in the second hour. Migrant crisis, China crisis is going to be in the second hour. Of course, we got to talk about YSL. Oh, and I see the judge. May sprinkle in Diddy if we had time. But the main thing we're going to talk about, because I was going to change the title to this, because this was also breaking news. Over 100 students arrested at Columbia University. And one of those students, but not only arrested, but suspended, was the daughter of Elian Omar, United States Congresswoman. Let me bring the judge up. Hi.
Hello.
You look good.
Hey, all things considered, got a slightly different perspective here since we are on, what shall we say?
It looks perfect just like that. Oh, you want to zoom in more, honey? Okay, no, that's perfect. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's a wider angle. We talked about that the other day. I'm on my cell phone rather than the iPad due to
Right.
the difficulties of somebody cloning my phone.
Yeah. Well, like I was telling her, well, we talked earlier about the topic. So the China and the migrant crisis is going to be in a second hour. I think I'm going to take phone calls, depending on how I feel when we get to the second hour. But I wanted to start off with I want to go to New York City with the students being arrested. I don't know if you heard of this. Let me share. Where is it? Okay, what is this? Let me just pause it. Go back.
I can't see any of that because it's too small on this cell phone screen.
Oh wow. All right. Let's just see. Let me make it like this.
Columbia University tonight. Multiple arrests, encampments removed, and now fights breaking out during pro-Palestinian demonstrations. Let's go live now to CBS 2's Doug Williams. He's been at Columbia all day. And Doug, from here, it feels like the intensity has been building now for hours.
Maurice, absolutely. That's what it feels like here. And I've talked with you and Jessica just within the last few hours about how this changes hour by hour. And it certainly has just since the last time we spoke. That fight did break out. And I said last hour we had not witnessed violence. Of course, that changed, as did the lack of confrontation between the two sides of this conflict. Police did take a man into custody who are crews. We did see one a punch thrown. The crowd then dispersed. They're now back, as you can see. Maybe the largest crowd we've seen so far. And in the last half hour or so, maybe the quietest they've been. As for this afternoon, police shut down 114th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam, began making arrests. We saw the students filed down, handcuffed with police, get onto the buses. There were 7, by my count, correctional police buses that had been placed on that block. Columbia's leadership, we now know, had asked for police assistance in moving students out of those encampments that they had set up on campus. We now have heard over 100 are in police custody. We spoke to a few students about this all unfolding here on Columbia's campus.
We were walking around different parts of campus, to occupy that space and demand that our voices be heard. And when I showed up, everybody had already been arrested.
One by one, these cops got each of the encampment protesters sitting down, standing up, and put them in zip ties and walked them. It's a very difficult time for a lot of people. I think it's unfortunate that it's come down to this.
And again, we are expecting to hear momentarily from police officials at police headquarters as they update us on just how many students they have in custody and any potential charges. There were students arrested as early as this morning, around 8 a.m., and students also obviously arrested by the dozen, those that were in the encampments on Columbia's campus. For now, we're live outside Columbia's campus. Doug Williams, CBS 2 News.
Doug, one thing before you go.
What are they protesting?
Any expectation of this continuing into the night like it did last night?
It certainly, Maurice, just from what we've seen, has been growing in intensity by the hour. We had heard from one demonstrator that she expected thousands to be here by the end of the night. We have heard that there are protesters outside police headquarters as well. So they have dispersed now several times, but they continue to gather. And right now, as you can see, they're right outside of Columbia's front gates, Maurice.
What are they protesting? Hello, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I muted myself.
I said, what are they protesting? This is very poor reporting. We've heard all of this yak, and we still don't know what the students are supposed to be squawking about.
Well, there are pro-Palestinian protesters.
Okay, why doesn't this get said? So we're looking at students protesting, and we've been on for 41 seconds and we still haven't heard what about. So that's very poor reporting, but it's typical. Now, 100 students have been arrested. This has been going on all day. Okay, no big deal. This is like 1963 when this stuff started before, and it gets a lot worse once the students get accustomed to doing these kind of things, and it becomes acceptable to be arrested for a cause. I mean, we celebrate Martin Luther King because he got arrested a bunch of times for a cause, and the whole civil rights thing because people got arrested for cause. And then we had anti-war stuff, the black militancy, the Hispanic militancy, the Asian militancy, the whole 9 yards back in the 60s where this was routine. I gave you that list of demonstrations and protests in Washington, D.C., where the 180 people on January 6th was so small it wouldn't even be paid attention to. So the public, the youth are finding something to get engaged about. And this time it's not universal. There are the pro-Israeli demonstrations, the pro-Gazan demonstrations. We've had the lightweight BLM nonsense, which basically were the rainbow cult masquerading as black folk, trying to do what they're doing to get the public inured to this kind of thing so it becomes popular and a fad. Get ready for it. America runs in 55 or 60-year long cycles, so it's getting ready to come back up where the youth will hopefully get engaged about something, and being so hopelessly meek about what they do.
Well, I want to highlight this as well. So it says 108. So the numbers keep going up. Arrested at a pro-Palestinian protest at Columbia University.
108 doesn't count nationally.
Yeah.
That's just,
well. Let me read this. Let me read this. Representative Ilhan Omar's daughter, Isra Hirsi, was among those arrested in New York. She was notified that she was suspended from the Barnard College. So it says over 100 people were arrested and issued summons for trespassing, including the Representative Omar's daughter. The demonstrators occupied the space on the university's South Lawn for 30 hours. Mayor Eric Adams said after the arrest Thursday, Columbia asked the NYPD for help and said the students have been suspended and were refusing to leave. Columbia University students have a proud history of protest and raising their voices, but he said they don't have the right to violate university policies.
They never did, and the whole point of a protest is you haven't done a damn thing if you don't put something on the line and risk it. So that they are being suspended or whatever, that's what it is. So hooray for them. They sacrificed a bit. Let's see how
solidarity with Gaza Solidarity Encampment.
Yes. So let's see whether we will have a neutral thing or whether we will have a pro-Israeli thing going on here when it comes to the administration.
But let me also.
But it's going to get interesting here, and more power to the young person who decided that whatever it was they were protesting was worth taking a risk. But 100 students getting arrested and occupying a lawn, that's not very big in America.
Well, let me add this, because Columbia, that's $90,000 a year, and you're not going to suspend me if I'm paying $90,000 a year.
Not if it's worth the cause, it's worth the risk.
No, I get it. No. The point that I'm trying to make: if I'm paying $90,000 a year, I should be allowed to protest.
No, you're not. You haven't done anything if you get allowed. That's the point of the 60s and why I get on some of the whiners and mopers and everything else, and those who just harp and, oh, woe is us, will do something. when you do something, there's a cost to it. If you're not willing to pay the cost, shut the F up. You know, so it is what it is. That's what it means to be part of a democratic republic.
Sorry.
It's not safe. And 90,000 a year still, you know.
That's a lot of money.
Well, it may be, but hell, I lost $1.5 million a year because
that was your salary. I'm talking about paying a college.
No, I'm not talking about salary. I'm just talking about the last few years' income from advertisements and stuff. I dropped down $1.5 million because I won't shut up. It's worth the cost. You have to make sacrifices.
So I'm worth over $1 million. Oh my God.
Well, that's about what it's cost me in terms of yearly income. So, I mean, if you want to do something, do something. But in this kind of world, it's not inexpensive, either in monetary value, as you're talking about 90-some thousand a year here to go to this place, or is it inexpensive in terms of social, political, or further economic expense and cost? Also, the penal possibilities here. People got locked up. Everyone was getting arrested, handcuffed, and taken downtown in police vehicles or buses back when. So it was what it was. UCLA's entire basketball team got arrested one time.
Protesting at a college, that's nothing new. I think it was more serious and violent in the 60s, 70s.
Of course it was. So what do you think we have an attitude for these days when we listen to people whine all the time? It's like, put it on the line. Do something. You get protected. Nobody wants to touch you if you claim BLM or rainbow. You can act with impunity. Go out there and you do something else for the other various and sundry types who might have some upset. Then everybody wants to screech because the news media is on the side of the little cupcakes. So if you want to be a cupcake, put it on the line. Let's see what you have.
I realized another protest happened at Google. Google has fired 28 employees who participated in a 10-hour pro-Palestinian protest at their New York and Sunnyvale, California offices. The protesters demanded Google pull out all their $1.2 billion cloud contract with Israel. They failed miserably. Oh, what did I do?
Did they?
They got fired.
That's all right, but they may not have failed. Small steps become big steps.
Right. It says we cannot
getting into the merits of the subject at this point. But if you want to do something in a system like ours, you're going to have to put it on the line. If you want your voice to really be heard, that's what the First Amendment is about. The right to assemble and petition for redress of grievance includes things that detail, why are you doing this? We don't like you involved with this. You picked the wrong side. Mm-hmm. Or why don't you remain neutral instead of supporting one side? We are protesting your involvement in giving one side a lot of support.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just stay out of it? You don't stay out of it, we get in it.
It says we cannot comprehend how Google leadership are able to sleep at night while their tech has enabled 100,000 Palestinians killed, reported missing, or wounded in the last 6 months of Israel's genocide and counting.
By the way, if you want to see what this looks like, go see the movie Civil War. It doesn't get into what the so-called Civil War is about. It doesn't take sides. It simply details what happens in other places in the world where we get involved like we have, where 100,000 people die, where we just look at it as something to be fascinated with on the nightly news, or not nightly, CNN all day long, or MSNBC or Fox, or whatever your news source may be. And it shows what it would look like here in the United States if this kind of thing, this kind of civil war developed here. So take a look at the movie if you want to see what it looks like on the ground in Gaza or anywhere else in the world where these things happen. And we just lauded take sides with no concept for the consequences. See the movie, Civil War. It just came out last week.
All right. Well, that's that for the protesters,
But
again,
really, what they're protesting, see Civil War, the movie. And it's very bloody, it's very graphic, but just see it so you can get an idea what it looks like. The discrepancies between normalcy in an area and all hell and chaos breaking loose, and everything bad about humanity coming out, and sometimes something good, and people losing track of why they're doing what they're doing, and then some focusing on it. So take a look at it.
all right, cool. Well, moving on. I'll do Diddy last, but anyway, guys, please hit that like button. Please share. Earlier this week, and maybe it was, for a good portion of the week, YouTube has been glitching. I don't know. And there was a lot of content creators complaining about low viewership when they're live streaming. So I don't know if they did some tweaking with their live streaming. So please,
They did that on purpose.
most likely, but please, it's not just my platform, it's a whole bunch of others, but please just hit the like button and share this video. And if you have a question or a comment, it's easier if you do it via super chat or Cash App or whatever. So that way we could just, it's easy for me to catch the question. All right, so I want to move on to Indianapolis. And again, we spoke about this earlier. This is legal. So Indianapolis mother walks free after admitting to smothering her 2-month-old baby to death between 2 couch cushions while high on meth. Judge Mark Stoner found Dacia Lacey not guilty of neglect, resulting in death. Lacey confessed that she wanted her daughter to stop crying and just be quiet so she could get some sleep. The mother was high on meth, smothered her daughter in a couch cushions. Judge Stoner said that the prosecutors didn't do enough to prove she intentionally harmed the baby. Lacey was facing 20 to 40 years in prison. She now walks free. I want to play this clip. It's only 33 seconds.
Court accordingly enters judgment of not guilty, reluctantly. I do hope that you will take the opportunity to get the counseling that you need, to get the counseling for the children that you need, that you learn from this behavior, and hopefully the rest of the community learns from this behavior, that you cannot go out and party on the weekend and be with children. Court.
Did this clown go to law school?
The judge?
Yes. It's been a long-standing principle in American law that voluntary intoxication is no defense to a crime that requires intent, because intentionally or voluntarily intoxicating yourself is the preliminary intent that suffices for the whole thing. It may have some impact on the sentencing in terms of the severity of the sentence. Either it would enhance or make the sentence worse, or it might mitigate it depending upon the circumstances. Generally, when someone intoxicates themselves, voluntarily, this enhances the level of punishment that they suffer, because that innately is not looked at as something to be favored by society. This woman needed the time, and the fact that she's getting counseling for children she still apparently has the custody of is absolutely ridiculous. This indiscretion should be punished. And it's another thing. One of the purposes of punishment is so that others similarly situated are deterred from doing the same thing that the miscreant, meaning the defendant in one instance, does. If you stomp on a defendant, somebody else might say, okay, fine, we don't need to do that. I'll think twice about doing it. You let somebody off with a pat on the back of the hand and then a massage, and oh, poor baby, we understand. Then others will say, what the hell, let's go ahead and do it. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that she should have gotten some type of jail time. And I said to you earlier, looking at her
crying, should have thrown the book at her.
Right.
That problem with crystal meth is a humongous problem. Instead of condoning it, it needs to be stomped out. It needs to be treated very harshly, so somebody in the future says, whoa, I have children. I don't need to be doing this meth. This woman is doing 40 years in the penitentiary. This ought to be taken as a especially aggravating circumstance.
Yeah, because I said that when she started crying, when we saw her cry, like I said, that's guilt she's going to have to live with for the rest of her life. And that's part of your punishment as well. But you was like,
oh, crap with that.
Right.
People do real well with getting over their guilt. If you wanted to see it, you should have seen what was coming back from Vietnam, or what came back from Korea, or what came back from World War II, or what came back from Gulf War I, or over there in the sand pile after 2001. Yeah, all kinds of things, but these people become normal, everyday American citizens. We had a situation with the Civil War where a whole lot of Americans got caught up in that. We had the Spanish-American War. We had World War I, World War II, and Korea. We had all of these people all alive at the same time. We had World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam at the same time, where people came in and out of that. 4 generations, 3 generations, and they settled into being normal people. And a lot of them had a lot to deal with in terms of getting over guilt at things they had done that they felt reprehensible about. See the movie Saving Private Ryan if you want to get a hold of it. See Full Metal Jacket. See Platoon. They only touch on it, but a lot of things are dealt with in those video treatments. Check out My Life, the real situation.
Because I was going to say that also, you know, she voluntarily did drugs. No one didn't force her. She didn't take it accidentally. She chose to get high. She wanted to get high. And you knew you had a daughter there, you know, and you didn't want to be bothered. So that was intentional neglect.
Your daughter while your butt is high.
Well,
you know, I can get away with it. Let me kill this little child. I'm sorry I had it. All I got to do is say I was on meth and they'll let me go.
Hold that thought right there, because I want to bring this up. Maxwell Anderson charged with killing, dismembering 19-year-old Milwaukee woman Sade Carlina Robinson. This is so sad. And he's a true monster. 1 week after his arrest, Maxwell S. Anderson has been charged with killing and dismembering 19-year-old Sade Robinson. The charges confirm what many have grown to suspect in the last week and a half, that human remains discovered in Kadai Park April the 2nd, belonging to Robinson, who was reported missing the same day. The case received extensive publicity as additional human remains were found in Milwaukee in the days since. So she went on a date. Anderson and this guy went on a date on April the 1st. They went on their first date, and she worked at this pizza place. They were saying she was so excited. And the two ate dinner, and they went to a bar before going to his place, Anderson home in Milwaukee on the South Side. Using surveillance coverage, witness statements, and phone tracking records, the complaint pieces together the movement of Anderson, Robinson, her phone, and her car, about 16-hour period beginning with their meeting over dinner. So his bail, he was arrested. His bail was set at $5 million. So he's not going anywhere.
I'm surprised they didn't ROR him, saying he was compelled to do what he did. By the way, if he's expected to resist his compulsion to do certain things of such a serious nature, where obviously there's a humongous compulsion to do something that bad, why are we saying that others who have slighter compulsions should be excused from the consequences of what they do because they were compelled? You see that as part of the support for the rainbow cult. They can't help themselves. They are compelled to be what they are, so everybody has to alter everything to pander to their compulsions. Well, some of these compulsions need to be controlled. And if someone is expected to expected to answer for the inability to control the compulsion like this, why don't we also require that the lesser compulsions are resisted? I always say, did a rape occur? No. Well, then it was voluntary? Yes. If it was voluntary, that meant somebody could have restrained themselves. So every time we have this excuse that a person was compelled to have a certain kind of sex with a minor or in a certain fashion that is deemed deleterious to society, we want to excuse them. Well, compulsions, even strong ones, must be controlled in the interest of the public's welfare and well-being. So this is an example. We had a situation here in Memphis where just last week, we had a young man who was found sound asleep with a pistol in his lap inside a stolen car. He had had multiple armed robberies and aggravated assaults and armed with a deadly weapon situations. So somebody decided to ROR him, and he got in a shootout with the police along with a co-defendant. One cop was killed and two other ones were wounded, and he got shot to death himself, and another somebody got wounded. So some fool let him out ROR instead of taking the recommendation for a bond, which was $150,000. There would have been several people in much better physical condition, and two other people would have been alive today had that happened. So you don't sit there and deal with a situation like this by rubbing someone on the wrist. There, you did wrong. What you do is when in an early stage you stomp somebody, the consequences won't come back, but they'll have it in their mind. And it's like, I don't do this. I don't like the consequences. You give somebody a chance to be redeemed, but you do not slack on them up front. Because what happens is when you take youth and you give them a break, the wrong kind of break, they get the idea that ain't nothing big about the whole thing. Just keep on doing it until, wait a minute, yo, man, I ain't going to deal with this, man. I ain't never got this much time for doing this, man. They ain't going to give me this time, man. I ain't going to take this time. They're going to have to give it to me.
I want to bring something up, right? Because I have brought this up to you. I want to bring race into the fold because I said with the Indianapolis mom, who killed her infant because she was high on meth. I said, now that judge went easy on her. I said he gave her a DEI judgment verdict, right? Because usually that I've seen throughout my lifetime, if that was a white woman, they get let off easy. Black people, they throw the book. So now because the radical left is so into this DEI, I'm calling that a DEI judgment. Now go to Sade Robinson. You know, I'm really appreciative and glad that her situation, her gruesome murder, was made national, you know, on national news. Even Nancy Grace interviewed the mother, because for decades, let me speak. Because for decades, Nancy Grace would not even take the time to highlight all of the missing Black girls and Black women, right? And then I also said to you, you know, this is for all women. Never go to a man's house on the first, second, or even the third date. And don't even bring him to your house, but definitely don't go to his house. And I said, well, maybe this is a reminder that Black women shouldn't date white men. And you said it has nothing to do with race, because Black men, or just men period, do that. There's not one particular race that do it more than another.
No, it's not. I remember one of the 4 times I got partially reversed by the Tennessee Supreme Court was I gave a white guy 25 years in the penitentiary for sodomizing an 11-year-old handicapped stepson. And the Supreme Court reduced the sentence to 20 years because they said it wasn't the worst case they could think of, and 25 was the maximum I could give him under the sentencing guidelines. So it happens. And white people and Black people do this to their own kind and to other people's kinds with an equal frequency. It is a matter of a deviancy, some shortcoming in a person's humanity. It has nothing to do with race, and those shortcomings are across the board.
And you would know, because you have seen these cases over and over again. What happened? I can't hear you. Say something. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. You're going to have to drop out and come back in. Go out and come back. Go out and come back. Yeah, he's going to have to come back. Somebody was calling him. Somebody was calling him. Why are you calling him? You know this man go to work 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. every Thursday and Monday. But people just call. They don't care if people call, honey. They just call. And it's always when we're in the heat of the conversation. It's always in the heat of the conversation. Anyway, breaking news. Israel just striked Iran. Let me share this. Where is it? Israeli just launched a massive attack on Iran and is rumored to have hit critical nuclear facilities, which could cause radiation to leak out into the world. So let me put a pin in that. We will address that later on in the show. And of course, Matt Wallace, he's on X heavy, but some of the stuff he put up there just be too much. But and he put World War III alert. And we're not in World War III. But Israeli just strike back on Iran. All right. So let's finish up real quick with Sade Robinson. Listen, my heart goes out to the mother to have that happen.
Well, yeah, but let me just say something. My comment on that is tragic. My comment on Nancy Grace, she's an incorrigible sleaze. I have encountered her over the years from time to time, and she is just a sleaze when it comes to irresponsible, false reporting, where she deliberately tells tales, lies about what is going on, misleads the public for her personal gain. To this day, a lot of the negativity that people have about O.J. Simpson has little to do with the actual evidence, but the lies that Nancy Grace told trying to build up a following when she first broke into this reporting business in Hollywood. She lied about what happened during the course of the trial. She misled the public. She made all kinds of statements that were not backed up by what actually went on. And that's just sleaze. My last time running into her, we were both on Larry King Live, and she was trying to indicate that she had figured out what went on with this murder that took place on a college campus in a laboratory setting. And what she had done is allegedly bribed the people who were the witnesses and some of the detectives to let her know what they were going to do so she could sit there and try to claim that she figured it out. She's a sleaze, allegedly.
All right.
Or in my opinion. Let's put it that way.
Well, she is a sleaze. And, listen.
A journalistic hack. So I'm not impressed by any damn thing she's trying to do because it's unholy and she's trying to get personal gain out of it. She stood on an innocent woman's lawn for several years with a loudhailer hollering about the Fifth Amendment is poison. A person's right to remain silent is not as important as a curious public's right is to know what happened. So she's supposed to be a member of the bar and a former prosecutor, and she wants to disregard the most sacrosanct protection of Americans, and that is the Fifth Amendment, the right to be free from being forced to incriminate yourself. And she says the curious public, inquiring minds need to be satisfied more importantly than a person has a right to be free from self-incrimination. That's ridiculous. That's flat out sleaze.
All right. So we did have some breaking news, or should I hold it till we get to the China conversation?
Well, what's the breaking news? If it just happened, tell me.
Well, because X is on top of it. X get it first before the media, the mainstream media outlet. So Israel just launched a massive attack on Iran and is rumored to have hit critical nuclear facilities, which could cause radiation to leak out into the world.
Now, see, that's one of the things. Israel and its retaliation, if you hit nuclear production facilities, remember Chernobyl?
Yes.
All right. It contaminated a lot of Europe. One of the reasons that everybody agreed to the ending of nuclear tests is that children were getting radiated by the radiation that settled on the grass that the cows ate, contaminated the milk that they squirted out when the milkmaids got them or the machines got them. And it has a distressing habit of coming back to hurt others. Plus, the other thing is there's no telling whether or not there are any nuclear bombs being carried around in suitcases over in that area, and we might get a mess. And the U.S., of course, is incompetent in its ability to handle the situation and is an important military on the planet. It is not dealing with what it ought to do to maintain peace in that area. So somebody's getting mad. And by the way, guess what? Now you got some pissed off Iranians and their simpaticos, and we've got a wide open southern border where we have been inviting people for the last several years with suitcase bombs, military grade explosives, not to have to hijack airplanes like they did on 9/11, but simply walk across the border with the hardware, transported easily with nobody inspecting them, and get transportation courtesy of the U.S. government all around the country to wherever they wanted to go, and nobody's paying attention to them, and now they can retaliate. Great.
Listen.
Simple-minded jackasses incompetently neglecting their duties, obligations, and responsibilities to the country.
I also want to bring this up with the U.S. Okay, the U.S. UK issues new sanctions on Iran in response to Tehran. It was something with the United Nations. The United States blocked,
yeah, Palestine from becoming a permanent member.
right?
Yeah, see, that's going to have a cost too. Do you mean to tell me that we actually think nobody from ISIS, Al Qaeda, Hamas, or whatever has crossed over this border that we have wide open on the south and not come in here to be emplaced so that they can strategically and tactically work their mischief when they get mad? They can't shoot down B-1 bombers, but they certainly can blow them up on the runways that are just 56 miles from that border. Okay, you've got military-age Chinese males coming across, and the Pentagon is predicting to shoot them up over Taiwan inside 2 years. And we've run out of ammunition everywhere from 9mm, 5.56, 7.62, 20mm cannon shells, 155mm artillery shells, 81mm explosive mortar rounds. And we have given away what few stocks we had remaining. We don't even have a week's worth of ammo. We don't have Sparrows, AIM 120 mid-range air-to-air missiles. Our supply of short-range missiles, AIM 9s is out. That is ridiculous. We have bankrupted our ability to fight. So what are we supposed to be doing when we're getting here dealing with China? We've got our entire port structure equipped with Chinese heavy industrial equipment. They found out that these massive mega cranes that they use to deal with container ships, they're all made in China, installed by China. And now they discovered mysterious communications devices that are affixed to them that they can't remove, and they have no clue as to what they're doing. Sidewinders, that's what I'm talking about, the AIM 9s. So we have lost our supply of necessary ammunition. We don't have enough F-22s that we have on board in order to deal with anything. The F-A-18s that we have courtesy of the Navy are outgunned, outflown by the Chinese equivalents. We have some F-35s that we have not tested yet, and the Chinese already 14 years ago revealed and displayed that they can hack any one individual aircraft of that line. In fact, the whole fleet of F-35s could be grounded, crashed, or disabled. And we sit here and we are talking smack, and we haven't done a damn thing. And the press ought to be paying attention to what's on some of those Hunter Biden laptops, 3 of which I have seen the contents downloaded, and especially of concern are some White House interactions on White House tapes involving a past president, a past vice president, now president, his son, and the Chinese representative, in their assurances to the Chinese that in return for a specific sum that you've heard mentioned vaguely as $10 million, they're going to see to it that the U.S. Navy stopped harassing the Chinese Navy while they built some, shall we say, installations on some semi-submerged coral reef heads so the Chinese could claim 200-mile radius territorial jurisdictions.
So let's go to this because this came out as breaking news today as well. FBI says Chinese hackers are inside U.S. infrastructure to cause devastating blow.
Oh, hell yes, they are. And these damn fools in the White House not only have done nothing about it, the main one in charge, according to these White House tapes that are on his crackhead son's laptops, was complicit in setting the circumstances up.
Let me read this. Chinese state-sponsored hackers have conducted widespread cyber attacks on critical American infrastructure in recent years, intending to give the country the ability to cause a devastating blow. This is reported by the FBI Director Christopher Wray. The fact is, the PRC, People's Republic of China, targeting of our critical infrastructure is both broad and unrelenting. He told security conference in Nashville on Thursday today, describing China's hacking program as growing in strength, is using the mass is using that mass, those numbers, to give itself the ability to physically wreak havoc on our critical infrastructure at a time of its choosing. Last year, security analysts of Microsoft identified mysterious code linked to communication systems in Guam, the U.S. territory in the Pacific, with a massive strategic air base.
Yeah, Guam's got a huge air base.
Mm-hmm.
It's critical to the national defense. That air base and damn near every other one around the country here and over in the Philippines is subject to being disabled. See, right now we depend upon communications. We depend upon reconnaissance. We depend upon being able to find out where the would-be enemy is, what his concentrations of troops, vehicles, and vessels happens to be. And we are supposed to be able to react to that and potentially target those objectives. So we can't do that if our communications and detection devices are disabled. Mm-hmm. We are helpless if we cannot communicate with our troops, vessels, and machinery. It is a mess.
It also says that officials believe the code was the work of Volt Typhoon, a Chinese state-sponsored hacking group. Volt Typhoon sought to target vulnerabilities in electric grids, shipping ports, and water infrastructure, among other systems, according to its intelligence. Now, I wanted to read that part because shipping
Don't forget TikTok.
Yeah. But so I want to bring up shipping ports because what happened recently earlier this month in Baltimore with that shipping boat that crashed into the bridge. So it could have been, a Chinese state-sponsored hacking group such as Volt Typhoon going into the shipping ports, the electric grids, going into our infrastructure, going into the systems, and causing havoc.
One thing, there was
they're not going to tell us exactly the truth.
Well, yeah, but practically, strategically, it's of very little consequence. Now, it is the fact that there were quite a few military materials, quite a bit of military material on that vessel in certain containers. But what happened is not unusual. It has a situation where the power plants for that ship are like the power plants for diesel locomotives. You've got a diesel engine turning a generator, and the generator turns out electricity that powers electric motors that are down where the wheels are on the locomotive. The engines aren't hooked up directly with the power plants. In the same fashion, what you have is in pods, you have electric motors that are powered by current generated by diesel engines on board the vessel. Those engines went down. What happened is that the vessel lost power, the props wouldn't turn, and since the power pods swivel to function as rudders, what went on is they couldn't turn it, so they called out a mayday and gave advisement that they were out of control, and the local authorities were able to
You're
divert.
talking about Baltimore?
Yes, they were able to divert traffic to keep a real disaster from happening. There's not really any strategic consequence to that. But
So you don't think that it could have been a possibility of a Chinese state?
well, yeah, but you wouldn't do that. See, that kind of thing militarily is not done piecemeal. Let's see if it works. You either know it works, you don't work, or it doesn't, because it's easy enough to find out if
Well,
you can
maybe that was the test.
No, it wasn't the test, because you put people on notice unless they're as stupid as these jackasses that are running.
No. I mean the hackers. Maybe they said, let's test this, just something small.
Yeah,
Let's just
but
test
I mean,
the waters.
see, that Cambrai, that's a situation in World War I where the British invented the tank, but instead of going out like it was recommended and hitting the Germans in mass with it and getting a real breakthrough, they threw a few of them out there, and the Germans discovered that the Allies had a thing called the tank. And they got used to the idea, which defeated the purpose. It was rank military stupidity. So the way to handle that is you can find out if you can disable the guidance systems on a lot of these large ships that depend on computers. You can disable them. And if you do, you don't disable one to see if it works. What you wind up doing is you disable a whole bunch of them at the same time. And the other thing was, it was problematical as to whether or not that ship would drift into a pylon. See, the bridges don't raise, the ships go under the span. So the ship could have just drifted right straight through the middle of a span and no damage would have occurred, and it would have run aground some miles down.
That's a lovely explanation you're giving us. But again,
I mean,
we
in other
don't
words,
know for sure.
Why waste the opportunity? And see, it didn't do anything strategically. You tied up one set of shipments, but in the scheme of things, it was statistically a small shipment. Okay, the bridge is out, but there are other ways around the bridge.
I'm gonna move away from the bridge, because I want to stick on China, but
theory, but it has.
All right, so let's move away from the bridge. Taiwan. Will China invade Taiwan?
Probably.
Because they're saying that China will most likely invade Taiwan by 2030 or 2027.
Yeah, 2027 is 3 years from now. The Pentagon's been talking.
I'm thinking it's further.
2026 is when they're talking about, which is 2 years from now. That's where they've been producing their white papers, and they say we could not stand up to them but 3 to 4 days, because last 2 years ago when they made this prediction, we said we only had 4 days worth of ammunition. Now it's gotten worse, because we've given away most of that to Ukraine and now Israel. So we have scraped the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the necessary ammunition stocks. And I'm not talking about small arms. I'm talking about the bigger stuff. So we have scraped the bottom of the barrel, given it away. It'll take us 5 years of intense production to get up to where we were 2 years ago, which is we had 4 days worth of ammunition in a shoot 'em up. We don't have the amphibious capability to shore up Taiwan with Marines or Army units. Taiwan has some old M48 and M60 tanks upgraded with some new guns, so to speak, and some improved fire control systems, but they're not M1 tanks. That's 60-year-old technology. It would be shot up very quickly. It's on the interior lines of communications with the People's Republic of China. They have 1,100 first-class fighter aircraft and about twice that many attack aircraft. The only thing we could do is stand for a few days before we run out of ammo and aircraft shot down, and then we'd have to go thermonuclear if we wanted to do something about that, and Taiwan's not worth it. So it is an opportunity for the Chinese to embarrass the hell out of us. They have already 2.5 million troops in uniform right now. We've got 750,000. They can mobilize another 6 million inside of a few months, and we can't do anything close to that. They're right there on an interior line, in interior lines of communication. They're right at home. It's kind of the equivalent of the U.S. getting over to the Philippines to Puerto Rico from the continental United States. It isn't even as difficult as it would be to reinforce Hawaii from mainland United States. They're closer. So we got a real live mess. We've talked smack, and we put ourselves in a situation where we're committed to backing up Taiwan to hell and back, and we don't have the ability to do it without going nuclear. So it's a real mess. The Obama administration cut off the F-22 production line when we had 121 of those fighter aircraft. Yeah. Some of them have crashed. Some of them are down for maintenance. We have very few that are operational. Most of those are scattered around the world. So you're talking about maybe 25 or 30 F-22 fighter planes being able to be brought to bear against 1,100 Chinese aircraft. The bad side of that is India's Air Force uses a version of that same plane, and India has, along with Pakistan, been invited to participate in Red Flag and Top Gun competitions. And guess what? It wasn't the U.S. military that won the competitions the last several years. It was India and Pakistan flying their version, a watered down version of what the Chinese have. So it does not look good. We have F-35s, but that in effect is an attack bomber that can be used as a standoff fighter, but it's not a mix them up, down dirty, knife fight, dog fighting type thing. So we have F-22s that are great. The F-15 was great, but the damn things are so old that most of them have such an advanced case of metal fatigue that they cannot be operated past 50% of capacity. And we have F-15Es that have been turned into attack bombers, and they aren't optimized for air-to-air combat.
All right.
So we've got F-16s that are quite old. They're 50-some years old. They were designed as a stopgap, cheap supplement to F-15s that we couldn't afford to equip the whole Air Force with. So we've got a compromised situation, and we don't quite know what to do about it.
Okay. Well, I want to...
Not to mention China has operational hypersonic missiles that we're just trying to get operational.
Okay. Well, I want to turn to a different aspect of China, because the Chinese, there are in different countries in the continent of Africa building silk roads. So they're thinking way into the future, and that future is Africa, right? So, but on the flip side of that, two things I want to highlight. Africans being colonized by the Chinese. I think so.
Yeah, you know what it's about? One child. That's all you get. Now it's 2 since they reduced their population from 1.6 billion down to 1.3 billion. They've got basically 1 billion more people than we do. We only have 300-some million. They've got 1 billion plus 300 million. Now I'm talking about China. Now, listen, stop. Where does this go? That means Chinese have a problem because the Chinese women aborted their female fetuses so they could get pregnant again and have boys. They wanted men for the family. So there are approximately 2 Chinese men for every Chinese woman of the same age. But they're told that if you go over to Africa and help us do what we do over there, you can have all the African nookie you want. and have all of the children. So right now there are about 60 million African Americans or Afro Americans, but there are 120 million Afro Chins. So roughly there are about twice as many Africans mixed with Chinese as there are Africans mixed with something European, as we have over here. So they are providing infrastructure, education, and finance for development in Africa. And what we are doing is absolutely nothing except trying to hold them down so Oppenheimer De Beers can maintain its diamond monopoly. And the queen, or not the queen, the king now can get his stipend from Oppenheimer De Beers by maintaining their monopoly. And they can masquerade the horrible things that are done so that can happen by saying it's tribalism.
Let me say this.
That's where we are right now. It's
let me say this. Let me say this because when I say being colonized, when you had the Christians coming to different countries in Africa and Africans are colonized. That's why you see Christians, you see them being Baptist, you see them being Catholic, and just even though they weren't so much enslaved, some were enslaved. They were enslaved in some countries, but just colonization. So now what I'm seeing is they're being recolonized, but under the Chinese rule. I just want to show this clip real quick, because when I say they're building Silk Roads, like they're building infrastructure and industries.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to exploit them and keep them in check. And the Chinese are saying, hey, just be our friends.
Allegedly be our friends. Yeah. So, but this is a Chinese man. Let me just play this.
Yeah, play the clip.
Yeah.
You know, boy, you talk plenty, you see. Me no see y'all. Me see you all. You all done? Yeah, but no. Oh, some no work, some no for you now, about. Me about me talk, you see what go on come here. You no come, him no come out. You want to listen where? Oh, we will no come out. Huh? You know you going out as no. Me no talk, you got you are chan. Me no talk, you me got you. Why you anger? You talk plenty. Why me no anger? Oh man for here now, no way. Oh man. Me all talk people. Me all talk come here.
And of course, Terry says she'd be like, but they whining about FBA.
Well, you know, what the hell? Chinese know kung fu. You know, I whip you.
But what I'm saying is, when you building these Silk Roads and you building the infrastructure, which is great for this particular country in Africa and economy and stuff like that, so it could grow and be modernized to a certain degree, right? But at the same time, how are you treating the people there? Okay, you're developing, you're creating these jobs, but are you paying them well? Are you treating them horribly? Are you treating them like second or third class citizens? Like, come on.
They're getting paid well. I have a former college roommate who says he's got a grand, what do they call it? A grandson-in-law, great-grandson-in-law. And this guy is a Chinese engineer, and his granddaughter got put through engineering school by the Chinese, and he's got a half Chinese great grandson and a great granddaughter, and they're getting a first class education. And he's proud of it because it's getting them the opportunity to get up out of the mindset that people have. Now, I think the Chinese are just trying to get them to be their friends. And what does that mean? 50 years ago, I personally had situations where people would say, what do I owe you for this? And I say, you don't owe me anything, just be my friend. So over the intervening half century, what has happened is that person, their children, and their grandchildren have returned the favor that I did 4, 5, 6, 10 times over the last 50 years. And that happens on an international basis too. When you get somebody to be your friend, it has long-term consequences. Remember, part of what you heard about over in the sand pile was winning hearts and minds. In other words, you get people that think, that isn't bad what they're trying to do. I kind of like these guys. They've done me favors. So most of the rest of the people in the world understand what it is when somebody does something for you, you owe them. So the Chinese are probably relying upon that, and they want to deal with the goodwill. While the U.S. is busy propping up Oppenheimer, De Beers, brutalizing and exploiting the people for mineral wealth, the Chinese are trying to help the people exploit their own wealth in return for the fact that when they get the wealth, they will want to buy products, and China has 78 to 80% of the world's manufacturing capacity. It sells more products than any other nation on the planet. It has the highest level of computerization and high science and technology on the planet. So it wants markets. It does not have to go in there and play colonial. It only has to get goodwill. So people say, we're going to buy stuff. Now, if you want to see what's going on, walk in your kitchen and see how much you find in there that's not marked made in China. This iPhone 13 that I'm using right now, I asked for a trace on its delivery when I ordered it. And I saw it made 2 stops inside of mainland China before it left and was flown over with a stop in Hawaii. And then it got into the mainland United States before it was delivered to me here in Memphis, Tennessee. So this thing, although it says Apple, was made in China. Some of the technology came from Japan, but essentially it's Asian. It's not American. So most of what you have technology-wise, anything else-wise, is made in China. And you don't think that they didn't put in any backdoor technology so they can get into these things? You don't think that they are not spying? You saw what they did with the balloons that were floated over here with impunity so they could do what they call signal intelligence. In other words, study the radio signals, communications methods, and get a good idea of what we are saying so we can't hide it. They have a humongous facility down in Cuba where they're doing massive signal intelligence relative to everything that comes out of the United States. As I mentioned, all of these humongous cranes in our port facilities on both the east and west coast are made in China. And we've discovered that they have communications devices built in that we can't remove, that we can't figure out what they're for. So
I want to play one thing. I want to play one last thing regarding the China. Speaking of, because you said that, they want to make friends, right? So this came out early in the week. I should have did a video by myself on this because it came out like 2 days ago. But some Africans, it was a marathon in China. African runners let Chinese opponent win in a Beijing marathon.
Beijing.
So let's see.
Our next story is all kinds of bizarre. It's funny, it's confusing, but it's also cheating. On Sunday, China hosted the Beijing Half Marathon. Some 20,000 runners took part. They had to cover 21 kilometers. Up ahead, 4 runners were stuck together, 1 from China, 2 from Kenya, and 1 from Ethiopia. The African runners were slightly ahead, but in the final stretch, something strange happened. The African runners asked the Chinese runner to overtake them. You can see them wave him through. Take a look.
是的。14分左右的水平，我们看4个人很有默契呀，
对，在今天的这个全程当中，这4个人都是一直保持在一起。
是的，而且有沟通有交流，
这样是不是也是选手之间的一种相互促进？
是的，我说积极的一种促进，
哇，越跑越快啊！何洁在最后是完全冲刺了起来。我们来看看他最后的成绩啊！
恭喜何洁获得了我们。
That
How
didn't
embarrassing is that?
exactly look to me
The
like
eventual winner was He Ji. He finished 1 second ahead of the African runners, but clearly it was all rigged. You see, He Ji is quite the star in China. He's 25 years old. He won the marathon gold at the Asian Games. He also holds the national record, so making him win was a priority for the organizers. One of the runners from Kenya has spoken out about this. He admits letting He Ji win. But guess why? Because he was his friend.
Fine, but you see what I'm talking about? Way goodwill works.
Yeah, no, but come on, like that's that.
No, I mean
this is a marathon where you train for over a year.
Yeah, but you know we do Formula One racing. Sometimes it happens that
Hamilton never let anybody win.
Yeah, they do. They used to. Before they had this.
Well, why you giving all these excuses? Let's just
I'm
say.
not giving it.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Let's just call it what it is, that Africans are weak when it comes to outsiders coming in. They open their arms up. That's what Black people do. We open our arms up to everybody. Come on in. Yes, let's be friends.
No, that's not what it's about. What I was talking about was goodwill. And by the way, what do you think the United States did? United States was a primitive barbarian country colonized by some serfs and peasants, a few yeomen, back when we had our Revolutionary War. It became mighty. We got assistance from a lot of people. We had to build a navy, starting with the Constellation, our first frigate, because Britain said, you got 3 of us. Now, what the hell are you going to do about the Barbary pirates who are preying on your shipping over in the Mediterranean and taking your citizens as slaves and selling them on the slave markets, white and Black ones? We don't talk about that. So the U.S. built the Navy. And one of the frigates is still parked in Boston Harbor or docked, and it's still operational. It's called the USS Constitution, the oldest ship in the continuous U.S. Commission. Now, it was built back then to deal with the pirates. So we wound up getting on better terms with the English after the War of 1812, after we effectively built superior ships and beat them. We wound up during the American Civil War of equipping half of the armies, North and South, with Enfield 1853 model muskets. They came from England. A lot of our munitions came from England. World War I, we didn't have an operational machine gun, so we used French chassés, and we used the ones that the English put out. We used SE-5As and Bristol fighters from England and Spads from France. We didn't have our own equipment. We got them from England. Right now, the U.S. Navy has just named its first new frigate. It's called Constellation after the very first one. Do you know who designed the damn thing and was building them? The Italians. So in other words, the United States, as technologically advanced as it's supposed to be, is now committed to building 51 frigates that are going to be designed and for the most part made in Italy, with Americans having the license rights to build them here.
Okay.
So you see, we have these kind of things. It's not unheard of for a backwards country to say we appreciate what you have done for us, and we let you win.
All right. I want to move to the migrant crisis. We spend too much time on China.
China's, but you see the other thing too. If I were a young person, I would learn Mandarin Chinese because that's likely to be one of the lingua francas or the main languages of communications in a short time. Remember BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, etc., that are posing themselves as a counter economic block to the one that we hit up.
Right. All right. Good point. So moving on to the migrant crisis, right? Couple of things. I don't think I'm opening up the phone lines because we're going to be short on time and I'm getting a little bit tired. The likes, I don't like the likes. I don't like the numbers tonight. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I put the wrong title in. I don't know. I don't care. But okay. I'm not going to get into this topic until he come back. It is China. Right? No, it's America. It is Google. It is corporate. It is Biden. It's everybody else but China. China ain't messing with us. China not messing with the algorithm. They're not. It's our own messing with the algorithm. We'll wait for the judge to come back. I don't like the likes. It's not enough likes. I don't think I'm going to be opening up the phone lines because you know how eyes get. Yeah, it's YouTube. And you know how eyes get when I get tired. When I get tired or, when I get restless, I don't feel like messing with the phone lines. And can you hear me? And, with the plugins, I may got to save it for Monday, even though I did say Thursday. But I don't think I feel like it. Oh, okay. We got 600 likes. That's good. But it's just something with, maybe I need to change the damn title. Let's see if that works. Okay, here he goes. All right. You can hear me?
I hear you.
All right. The title was good. I don't know. I just changed it up a little bit just to see if the numbers had changed, but maybe it's not that. Maybe it is YouTube. All right. So this is the migrant crisis, right? The nerve of these illegals to have the nerve to protest. It says hundreds of Black migrants, many from African countries, showed up at City Hall this past Tuesday, demanding better treatment. They say they just want a job and basic shelter. The migrants and their advocates say they've received unfair treatment and have been left forgotten. So let me play this video.
What is Okay, are they
many from
legal
African
or
countries
illegal?
showed up at City.
Let me play it.
Hundreds of Black migrants, many from African countries, showed up at City Hall demanding better treatment. They say they just want a job and basic shelter.
And Chopper 2 was overhead this afternoon, showing a large group outside City Hall just how many people this issue is impacting. The steps of City Hall also packed. CBS 2's John Diaz reports now on the changes that they're calling for.
Every migrant we spoke with has something in common. They want to work. Right now, they're trying to cut through all the red tape that's stopping them, asking local leaders to put pressure on Washington, D.C. to make a change. As dozens rallied on the steps outside City Hall and hundreds showed up in support nearby, inside the council chambers, tears were shed for all Black migrants impacted by what advocates are calling unfair treatment.
They are here to show you that they belong and that they are here and that they should not be erased. Please listen to them.
Tuesday, City Council members held its first hearing to learn more about the experiences Black migrants have been going through in New York.
Black migrants have reported verbal and physical abuse due to the color of their skin.
Federal immigration laws are either slowing down the process for these migrants to get working permits, or depending on what country they come from, it makes them ineligible.
But when they give our work permits, we can work and take care of ourselves.
Governor Kathy Hochul has tried to speed along the process. These migrants are also up in arms over language access barriers and temporary shelters, saying 30 days isn't long enough. This mother and her 2 kids have been staying at the Humanitarian Relief Center at Floyd Bennett Field, but she says the city should be providing more assistance.
What I expect to have like a help from American people, I did not see that.
The Relief Center continues to be a point of contention for Republican Councilmember Vicky Palladino, who says the city is already giving the migrants too much.
This is absolute insanity at its finest.
And most migrants we saw out here today were young men, but also we saw some families, including children and even some infants. From City Hall.
I paid attention to that. I find it amusing. Can you hear me? Okay, you're muted, I bet.
Yes, I'm muted. Go ahead.
Okay, these people are legal immigrants. They have green cards. So they came over following the rules, but they can't find work. But meanwhile, the illegals who crashed the border have been given carte blanche and a fast track to being employed, getting benefits, getting monies, getting taken care of by the U.S. government and New York, apparently. They are in sanctuary cities and locations where they're protected, but the people who follow the law are getting jacked around. I find that interesting, and it is not good. So what kind of message is being sent out when you say, okay, you're Black, you're non-Hispanic, but you get shoved to the wayside because we've got us some new people and we're going to give them everything. And then the other thing I kind of laugh about, I had a thought, and maybe the U.S. is trying to get in some new Negroes. You know, they want to work. They want jobs, right? Right? That's what they're complaining about. We want jobs. What are the local Negroes hollering about? Cut the check.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of disrespectful, and that's a low blow.
Of course it's disrespectful, but you see, we are wide open to that when you don't understand the consequences. So I can understand reparations. I have no problem with it. I wouldn't mind getting it. I certainly have had the slings and arrows associated with being Black in the United States of America. So have my ancestors who've been here since day one. So, yeah. But you see, the new Negroes want jobs and want to work, and the old Negroes want a check.
Well, they're not the new Negroes. They're just illegals.
Well, no, they're not illegals. These people.
Okay, so let me speak on this.
They did. Wait. Here's the thing you have to see. I've read up on this today just independently. These people have green cards. They came over and followed the immigration process.
But no. Stop. Because that's not true.
Where did they come from?
These are the illegals. These are the African illegals. And let me just also say this. I'm not going to disagree with you completely, because what is happening, you do have, first of all, before we had open borders under the Biden administration, our immigration policies were unorganized, and it was like snails, very slow. But so you do have a lot of migrants who did come here, you could say legally, but still waiting for their paperwork to be put through. But the thing is, when you see those people in front of City Hall who have been, those are not the immigrants that have been here for years or decades, because then they would have been complaining. You got to understand that what they're doing, they're trying to lump the illegals with the immigrants who came here the right way that are still waiting for their paperwork. But majority of those people out there are the illegal migrants, because mind you, they said, we're not being treated fairly. We just want shelter and we want a job. Those are not people that's been here, because the people that's been here, they've been working. They have a place to live. They're just waiting for their proper paperwork, their green card. No, let me finish. These are the illegals, because yes, to a certain degree, the Black illegals are treated slightly different from others. But at the same time, I'm saying the audacity of you, because you came here through an open border, which this president broke the federal law and state laws and allowed you to do that. And then all this billions of dollars that have been shelled out to them, and you're complaining because what? Because a lot of these people, they gave their information, they have a date to get their work permit, but a lot of the dates are 6 months or 12 months down the line, because there's so many of them.
Okay, hold your point. This is what I was getting to. Are these people recent migrants?
Yes.
Okay. How did they get here?
No, they're recent illegal migrants.
No. How did they get here?
They walked through the border.
Okay, but where did they come from?
Buses and planes and trains and automobiles.
Where are they coming from?
They're coming from different countries in Africa, South America.
Oh, yeah, okay. How far away is Africa? If last I checked, it's on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean at a diagonal down.
Right, they're flying into South America.
Okay, now, hold on. I'm making a point here. If they came recently from Africa, across the Atlantic Ocean, the long way at a diagonal, and they got to the United States and they entered illegally. Remember my remarks earlier about Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, other insurgencies, and people with a great grievance against the United States coming over here. So if these people came from all the way on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, not from a point of origin generationally from South or Central America, but recently from another continent, that couldn't happen, because surely our government would not allow.
What is your point?
The point is, surely our government would not facilitate illegals coming in directly from Africa or the Middle East.
But they are allowing anybody to go through the border.
Yeah, but
and they're being transported to sanctuary cities.
But listen. The point is this: the American public envisions the illegals as coming from South America and Central America and Mexico. They walk up. They are not thinking in terms of people that came across the water. So if you can get across the Atlantic Ocean to get into the Americas, to sneak across the border, surely somebody has paid attention to the national security problem that is indicated by saying, if Africans can get here, North Africans can get here. So what are we doing to protect the country from people that now have a great grievance against the United States and want to do it specific harm? I'm just saying.
Jump into another, right. No. I'm not debating that. I'm not debating that. What I'm getting at, because you're jumping on to something else with the illegals, but what I'm getting at is, how dare you? Because you just, and I that's what I said. I'm not discrediting what you're saying that, oh, these are the people that been here, and that's the trick bag, because they want you to believe that because of the advocacy groups, and they sprinkle in some of the people that came here kind of the right way. But no, those people that were outside City Hall were the ones that came here last year, within the past month, within the past 6 months, within the past year, and they're still waiting for their day to get their work permits and everything, and they don't like the way they're treated. So how dare you complain when you
Wait.
supposed to be here anyway?
Hold on. Remember, they're waiting on their work permits. They applied for something. This group that we're talking about has applied for nothing. They've just been allowed to come across the border. Nobody's kept any track of them. They don't know where they are.
The audacity to protest.
No. Listen, they're complaining about lack of work permits that they have applied. Yeah, but they've applied for them. What I'm talking about is, what about the people who haven't done that? The millions, tens or hundreds of thousands who have crossed the border.
That's what I'm talking about.
Nobody knows where they are.
No, Judge, no, slow down. That's what the people who crossed the border, who just got here, they are allowed. They already applied for
they haven't applied. No, the ones I'm
listen,
talking
Judge, I've been on top of the migrant. This is what I'm telling you. This is why this is horrible, what this administration is doing, that you don't know, because I've been on top of this. They allow them to apply for fucking work permits. They all have an appointment to get it. They've been approved. It's just a matter of when you show up to your appointment. Let me finish.
Okay.
Their appointment is not next week or next month. It's over 100,000 of them in New York City. So a lot of them, their appointments is not until 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. They are getting work permits. So they are complaining.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Listen.
Look.
Listen to what I'm saying. They're complaining that the work permits are not coming in fast enough. These are the people who just got here illegally.
Yeah, I got you. But what I'm talking about is, at least they have applied. What I am complaining about is
you applied for something when you came here illegally.
Look, what I'm complaining about is those who have vanished without a trace, who don't want to be found, who are working with nobody questioning them, or who are getting put up in 4-star hotels.
The people that was in front of the City Hall protesting.
Okay, that's not necessarily the case.
It is the case. I think you don't want. Wait. You don't want to believe.
It's not a matter.
Wait. Slow down, because New York City, again, I've been on top of this. You have not. New York City has been slowly, and Chicago, they have been slowly removing them from the shelters, removing them from the hotels. And that's why they were there complaining, particularly the African ones. So these are the people who came here illegally recently under this administration.
Okay. I'm aware of it just like you are. I was running for mayor in this crazy city here, Memphis, and certain people that won and are currently in the administration are trying to make Memphis a sanctuary city. Tennessee, up in Franklin, which is a suburb of Nashville, just got advised by Homeland Security that they're shipping 6,000 of these illegals up there to Franklin in Nashville, and that they need to go see to putting them up. So, okay, I'm aware of the situation. Now, that gets personal. I know people that live in and around and about Franklin, Tennessee, and it's not that far away from Memphis, and it's likely, unless Memphis escalates its homicide rate, for that to be something that's stuffed into a place where I live, and I don't particularly like it. But what my point is this. You have a group of people that didn't just walk in a caravan from South Central or North America to get here. You had people who had the wherewithal to get transportation across the Atlantic Ocean one way or another. So that says to me that you don't have a destitute people coming from the slums of Rio or someplace in South America where they can't afford a plane ticket to get over to this hemisphere. They just walked. But you have people with the wherewithal to transport across the several thousand miles of Atlantic Ocean to get here and move up through the border.
And
So
complain.
this group taking advantage of the situation has at least put in the application a problem that law enforcement.
No, stop. That's where you're going off the reservation.
I'm not going off the reservation.
No,
no.
What you don't. But stop. Slow down.
Go ahead.
The people that are coming across the border, they are being bused because the governor in Texas and in all the other states that are not sanctuary states or city, they are being bused to sanctuary cities and states like Chicago and New York. Sure. When they are there, they are allowed to fill out the paperwork. The problem with that is you broke the fucking law when you cross the border because that's not how you're supposed to come in here. But they are allowing them to walk through the border, go to the sanctuary cities, and you can apply for a work permit. So you're skipping the line. You're skipping ahead of the people that's been here for over a decade, waiting for their green cards, been paying state and some federal taxes, definitely state taxes. The people walking over the border, the people that were in front of New York City Hall complaining, those Africans just got here and they're complaining about their treatment.
Okay, now, they aren't getting treated as well as the Hispanics or the Latinos because a lot of them are employed without having to go through the work permit process. Down in California, Nevada, Arizona, other places, they're being ignored. Nobody's asking. They're being protected. That is a problem. Next point is that, have you seen any Chinese protesting?
I don't know.
Tens of thousands.
It's only the Africans that was in front of City Hall.
Yeah, but you've got tens of thousands of illegal Chinese of military age, male, who have been coming across the border illegally, and nobody knows where they are. Now, at least you know where these people are. They're showing up outside of New York City Hall. And they're being photographed.
So what you're saying is give them what they want. So what you're saying is give them what they want.
No, I didn't say give them what they want. I just said it looks hypocritical for you to have all of these other elements that you are paying no attention to, and you take the black ones who have at least applied.
What do you mean? What do you mean? At least apply? Apply for what? They didn't apply for anything.
Work permit.
Oh my God! No, you don't. Oh my God!
Listen.
Everybody else, they apply, and so did all the other illegals.
That's not
how the immigration process works.
I know how it works. My office.
You're saying at least they apply for the work permit. So did the Mexicans and the Venezuelans and everybody else.
Some did.
I want to move on to something else.
Some.
No, all of them did. That's in the shelters.
See, some got brought over. They got the buses up from Texas and Florida because the people down there didn't want to be bothered with them. I understand why. That's righteous. They broke the law. They don't want to be guilty of harboring a federal fugitive and committing a felony or conspiring to commit a felony. More power to them. But some people in California got put up in these hotels and had the paperwork practically done for them and the work permits handed to them. They didn't have to wait. Some other people who have come in and been brought up to Illinois, to Chicago, where they are displacing a lot of Black residents up there. They didn't have to wait. They were given the work permits expedited. People in New York had expedited work permits, but they didn't come from Africa. And people in Washington, D.C. and other folks had expedited work permits, but they didn't come from Africa. So we have this hypocrisy going again. We've got the Democratic Party with its range of Negroes on its Democratic Party plantations, blue as they can be. And we have, interestingly enough, those migrants, illegal or otherwise, who look like the staunch, loyal Negroes of the Democratic Party. They are getting the hard time, not the people who don't look like them. I find that very interesting, and I'm being sarcastic to a point here.
No, I get it. I want to go to Chicago.
Now, that's all I'm doing is sarcasm, but it's.
I want to go to Chicago. I want to share this. I want to share this. I think your phone was going in all, but it's fine now. All right, so in Chicago, the residents there, they're more confrontational than any place else, pushing back. So Chicago citizens confront Mayor Brandon Johnson about proposal to spend $70 million more on the migrants, right? Mind you, they already spilled $1 billion on the illegal migrants in Chicago alone. So I want to play this clip, and I fast forwarded to the 14-minute mark because P. Ray, I've had her on my platform. I interviewed her, and she's popped in some of our Twitter spaces. This is her speaking, and she is a Trumpster. She is pro-Trump, and she got her hat on. So I want to play this.
Good afternoon to the city of Chicago. I am P. Ray of the 37th Ward. Chicago Red is our organization. Because we started this session with a prayer, I want to start my comment with the scripture. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, "But if any provide not for his own, and specifically for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." So I want to talk to y'all today about not going to hell. In the 37th Ward, there was a family, the Jones family. Amarie Jones was standing in her family building that they've owned for 40 years, doing a TikTok dance with her mother. A bullet came through the window, hit her in the neck. She fell to the ground in front of her mother and bled to death. A month ago on the Chicago mugshot page, her mother was on that page. Her mother had on her daughter's rest in peace t-shirt. She washed it so many times that it was completely faded out. She was completely high, out of her mind, and the charge was possession. Now, the first $51 million that this council gave to the migrants came from the opioid settlement funds. I am here on behalf of the Jones family, on behalf of the 37th Ward, on behalf of Black Chicago, on behalf of the entire city, to ask you all to vote no and put that money back in the opioid settlement fund. We need that money in my neighborhood. We need that on my block. That woman should not be at Cook County Jail because she's grieving over a random act of violence that caused her to lose her child in front of her face, when the city of Chicago has millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to give to people who ain't paid a dime into the tax base. We've been in my building for 52 years. We're about to pay some more taxes. The Jones family has been in their building for 45 years, paying taxes every year on time. So I'm asking y'all to use our tax money for our people. We need it. We got people leaning. We got people rocking. We got overdosing. We got pass out lines. You live on the west side, Mayor Johnson. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We need the money for us. We need opioid treatment on the west side of Chicago. We are the headquarters of the cartel, and everybody in here knows it. They selling more drugs than the law can allow, and y'all giving money back to them because they traffic those people up here. So we paying them going and coming. Absolutely not. We pay too much. It costs too much money to live in this city. Help Wanda Jones. Help every other grieving mother who feels like she has to go get high to get over the loss of her child. This is a woman who lived in that house. She still sleeps in that living room where her daughter passed out and bled to death. So I'm asking y'all to say no, put these people on the back burner, and put the money back in the opioid fund. We need that money. Thank y'all.
What happened?
No. She was finished with her speech because this is at the city hall where the public.
City council do.
Yeah, city council. So
what they do?
What do you mean? She is telling them the 70 million.
But what did the city council do about
this just happened yesterday. So
what did they do about it?
What they do about it within
did they
less
call
than
for the
24 hours?
question, or did they debate it? What did they do about it?
I don't know.
That's right. They're not going to do a damn thing about it. So why did these people elect these other people to do
Well,
this?
they're not. They are being elected out. So
Well,
this is,
they are still
let
in
me
office.
Let me just say this. Don't be a pessimist, because I do have to give Chicago, specifically Chicago, a whole lot of credit, because yes, they admit, yes, we've been wrong for so long, but these Brandons and the people like them, no, they are being voted out. There is a very strong Go Red movement. A lot of people in Chicago have already switched from Democrat to Republican, and they are making sure that a lot of these politicians, particularly in city council, are not going to be reelected. The ones who are voting for these millions of dollars go to the migrants. So they're doing the work on the ground there in Chicago.
They are. Who are the candidates?
I'm not getting into all that.
No, I mean, but seriously.
I did. No. Actually, I did. Seriously, I interviewed one, Ashley Ramos, and I'm actually going to have her come on the show with us. I want her to, and I want to bring her on a couple more times. She's running for congressional seat. She's running against, I forgot, some black woman there as well. So there are candidates. P. Ray, the one we just saw, she's running for school board as well. So there are several candidates that are running against a lot of people who have been currently sitting in these positions. So my point is, they are doing the work. Compared to Memphis, compared to all these other black cities, majority black, at least Chicago is doing what a whole lot of other cities, particularly like New York, Memphis, or what have you, should be doing. Even because I am going to go to Fulton County in a minute, but even when we talk about Fulton County, those black people are waking up with all the corruption going on there. So it's like, again, yeah, what are you doing? But people are speaking out. People are exposing what is going on. People are voting people out.
Look at their mayor. They didn't know this was going on when they elected that mayor?
When they elected that mayor? No, because...
Yeah, it's just last November.
No, it wasn't. It was 2 Novembers ago.
Well, okay, like this
and
was...
that's when the wave came in.
Well, 2 Novembers ago, yeah, but people weren't aware of that. And by the way, after Lori Lightfoot put that money out there to the neighborhood and financed the hijacking of those multiple boxcars full of arms, where several 10,000s of firearms got hijacked from the IC rail yard and put into distribution. Now, what do you have? Last weekend in Chicago, 43 shootings and 7 fatalities, at least at this point. So when is the community going to take control of itself and say no more? When is the community going to rise? Oh, I know. They don't have Second Amendment privileges there.
They do in Illinois. Illinois.
Why aren't they armed up and doing something to stop that?
Who said they weren't?
It's still going on. 43 shootings last weekend, including one little debacle they blew up to a family.
But see, again, this has also been reported. The shootings, the robberies, the crime went sky high because of the illegals.
Well, is it the illegals or is it the locals? The illegals aren't going in and shooting up.
The crime increased.
Why?
Because what you're saying is, well, what are you doing? Well, if they're doing something now, because they haven't been paying attention to these politicians. So now that you have a president that is allowing open borders, right? Because the sanctuary city is not for illegals who come here illegally to just hide out. That's not really what sanctuary cities are for.
Exactly what it's for.
But no, technically it's not. But that's what they're using it for. But that's what they're using it for now.
There is no other excuse. You aren't recording who comes across the border. You don't know where they went.
Exactly. No. This is what I'm saying. Sanctuary cities, the purpose of sanctuary cities, number one, it is a max amount. Like you can't have over, let's just say 10,000, but they're not the ones there, but they're not supposed to be illegals that just walk across the border, what we're seeing now. So again, what we're seeing now, what this administration is allowing, that's the problem. But they're placing them in the sanctuary cities, and they're changing the laws. They're creating new laws. They're creating all these different public policies that's going to benefit them and give them an economic uplift.
They haven't created new laws. They are badly breaking existing laws, and a bunch of them ought to be in jail for conspiracy. It's called harboring a federal fugitive. And by every definition, every one of these illegals is being treated kindly, protected from prosecution. And that's what a sanctuary city is. That's how it started off about 6 years ago. The sanctuary cities are cities that are protecting these people from prosecution, from crashing the border. That is a federal offense. It's a felony. And I have represented people charged with that under other circumstances in past years, 35 or more years ago. So I know it's a crime, and I know what they try to do to people who do that, for harboring one fugitive who might have even had a warrant issued against them by mistake. So when you have these people who have just crashed into hundreds of thousands, the millions, and somebody in government who's sworn an oath to uphold and enforce the law is aiding and abetting them escaping from the consequences of the violation of American law, all of them ought to be in goddamn jail. Now, that's what we have here. It's a mess.
So
and I appreciate what Chicago's doing, but it is always nobody pays any goddamn attention. And I'm sure everyone in Chicago knows more about what the Bulls are doing than what the illegals are up to.
One more thing, though, I wanna play some more minutes on this clip, because we heard P. Ray speak and we heard what she was saying, and she made some valid points.
She sounded good, all right.
No, but the man that came behind her, because each person comes up to speak or whatever, and this is the problem, because you have a group of people like P. Ray, and then you have a group of people like this man. Let me just.
It's me versus.
Okay, it's a commercial. Wait a minute. Give it a minute.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments, Ms. Easley. The next speaker is Mr. Denzel Dillard. The next speaker is Mr. Denzel Dillard.
Yes, how you doing there, Mayor?
Good afternoon.
I come here for a different perspective. I come here to give you praise. I hope to soften the blow here. I think I've been sent here, after being evicted, after all the turmoil that I'm going through. I'm here to say thank you. I think you're doing a great job, despite the disparities that's going on within our communities. Shucks, I don't care what mayor was here, it wouldn't be done. But more importantly, I'm here to let you know that I'm a struggling young man. I've always, at your tenure, wanted to work for your administration. My goal is to get hired. I believe in your mission. I believe in the hope of the city, and in I see where your administration is going. I want to be a part of the process. Even if I do not work for your administration or hope to be hired for some job for the city. And one of the reasons that I thank the Lord that I'm here, because a lot of people don't think that I'll be hired. They think that I won't be helped by you. They think that things can't happen, to good people. I believe in you. I believe. And my goal is hopefully to work for your administration or for the city, and hopefully to even soften the blow. Because I see so much here. I almost want to pray for this environment, because I do not let anyone steer me wrong, just like you do, no matter with the bickering and the hollering, because I adore and I appreciate this whole administration, this whole body here, even the people, even that's behind me. Okay, kiss it. And just like this, I want to be an asset to the city and to your administration, or to some part working inside the administration. I just want to thank you. And I just want to say this very briefly. Lord, I want to thank you for this moment that you gave us. Lord, I want you to continue to bless our city. Lord, bless the people that surround us, Lord. Give them what they need, Lord. Calm their spirit, Lord. You've been ever so gracious, Lord. I want to thank you for what you're doing, for what you've done, and the thing that's going to be down and restored over our life, and this city will be greater with our help and assistance. I thank you in Jesus' name, amen. Love you, Mayor.
A more obsequious, sleazy, disgraceful, bootlicking performance I haven't seen in a long time. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Now, that's who the Democratic Party depends on, and I'm sure even if they did something very painful to him, he would still vote blue, because he's a loyal Negro with his own special quarters in the kennel down on the plantation.
Right. And now, yes, he's blue. He's going to always be on that Democrat plantation.
He is a Negro, two-legged domestic animal.
But then you have P. Ray with her Make America Great hat on. And she is voting for Trump. She is actually going to the RNC convention. But you heard her words, where she was saying, listen, that money needs to be reinvested back into the community, not to go into illegals.
Okay, so now let me give you something. I know people in Chicago. Hell, I used to stay on 71st and Constance 50 some years ago when I worked at this DC think tank and went back and forth. I've talked to people in the last few days who are in Chicago now, and they haven't heard any of this. They aren't even paying the least bit of attention to what's going on. Again, see that movie Civil War. You will see scenes in there where they travel to isolated communities that aren't really isolated, where the people seem totally unaware of what's going on around them. They are oblivious, because they used to want to rush home and see what Erica was doing on their favorite soap. They pay attention to the Bulls. They are very caught up in their particular series that they like to watch religiously. And they want to go to church, and they want to be left alone. And they don't care. They don't give a damn. They're just non-entities, ciphers, who will do what they are effectively propagandized into doing. And until something happens to change that, it's going to be a pathetic nullity. You see something that is hopeful. We were talking about Columbia, where the students were getting arrested and suspended or expelled because they are getting active. And that is a good thing until people start doing what at least the civil rights movement was doing, nonviolent resistance, by doing what they call civil disobedience. You can't get anything. That was not enough. It had to move past that, but it caused the public to be inured to the process. And maybe that's a good thing because the country has gotten entirely too complacent. So until it starts staring you right in the face, until you start having a personal loss, too often America allows too many people the opportunity to escape the necessity of contemplating something that others have to put up with.
Right. Real quick, because I want to bring up one more quick thing on this migrant crisis. But so men like that, the guy that was just speaking, you know how
That's
we
not
call.
a man.
Wait, let me.
Hey,
You know how we call Fanny Mammy? He is Steven. Steven is the character that Samuel L. Jackson played in the movie Django. So that's what we got to start calling the men who be buck dancing.
well, let's put it this way. My contempt for what I heard, I do not wish to express right now because it would be very profane. It would be quite nasty. Some people say, why are you always down in the sisters? I'm not down in sisters. I down mammy slaves and I down boy slaves as well. So this is a slave. He thinks like a slave. He's obsequious. He has no pride. He's even advertising what he wants. Boss, please, boss, you know I's a good Negro. I do anything you want. Y'all been so good and use good houseboys for the master. And I knows what you're doing. Please let me come work up in the house with uses. Cause I be a good Negro. I swear to God I be. I even praise Jesus. Look here, let me say some scripture. Lord have mercy. Please bless these house niggers for doing what they's doing. Yeah, no good slime ball.
One last thing.
And Mammy,
wait, no, stop. Because we gotta keep moving because it's getting late. All right, so
must we?
One last thing. It says, and this is what part of this migrant crisis. This is part of migrant crisis topic. North Carolina high school student Christian McGee was suspended from school for saying illegal alien in classroom.
Yeah.
Calling an illegal alien is not offensive. It's just a fact. McGee was suspended for 3 days after doing an assignment in English class. The teacher told the class to say a sentence with the word alien in it. McGee reportedly said, like space aliens or illegal aliens without green cards, ? The school determined the phrase was offensive and disrespectful to Hispanic students. I didn't make a statement directed towards.
God damn it! Ain't that kind of a?
Let me finish reading it. Let me finish reading. I didn't make a statement directed towards anyone. I asked a question. McGee shot back. I wasn't speaking of Hispanics because everyone from other countries need green cards, and the term illegal alien is an actual term that I hear on the news and can find in a dictionary. His mother is now concerned that he won't be able to get into college. He is devastated and concerned that the racism label on his school record will harm his future goal of receiving a track scholarship. So
he's telling the damn truth. And I think it is an insult to the Hispanic community to express the presumption that if you're talking about illegal aliens, you are inferring that all Hispanics are promoting the breaking of American law. I'm black. Do you think I'm promoting anybody black breaking the law when it comes to immigration? No, I'm not. So why would you presume that I would be insulted because you said these illegal aliens who happen to be from Africa, immediately from Africa, the fact that they may be breaking the law is somehow implicating myself in this mess? I follow the damn law. I was charged with enforcing the law, adjudicating the law. So I'm supposed to be into that? That is an absolutely insulting presumption for that school district to even utter that.
The school district said in their policy that the kids technically do not have free speech if it goes against their policy of you saying something that's offensive. But they're trying to
God
label.
damn it. So a lot of shit is offensive that needs to be said.
But that
Some of
wasn't
the
offensive.
pussy-ass
That was
bullshit.
illegal. Yeah, that wasn't offensive. That was a legal term.
God damn it, it's in every newspaper these days, on the front page. And a child can't sit there in a high school class and interject it into a discussion in a relevant and coherent and germane way. What in the hell are we doing? What kind of propagandistic engines are we turning our high schools and educational facilities into?
Right.
Now, that makes me mad. And it probably, the jerk faces that are responsible for this administration are most likely educationally deficient, because these days we don't get a whole lot of excellence channeled into school administration.
Right. Okay.
Damn, that's ridiculous.
No, I have a big problem with that.
And
Yeah.
it's un-American.
Very. And he didn't do anything wrong. Number one, somebody in a classroom who was a Hispanic student, I read in another article, said something to him like got in his face. And that's what I think sparked the teacher to report him to the office. But why do you suspend? And then too, and I think the parent said this, it would have been a great teaching moment, but what you did was shame this person for exercising his right, in which he did not say anything because that's a legal term. And then number two, you basically, you want to suspend someone. That means you are accusing them of being discriminatory or racist, and even though they were not, instead of explaining, don't say that because it could be offensive XYZ.
You know what it is? I don't give less than a goddamn if you shame somebody. Water runs off the duck. If the shoe doesn't fit, no big deal. Be able to stand up for yourself. But what I do object to is the inference that Hispanics are crime committers and that they will be negatively impacted if you accuse one of them independently of committing a crime. That's like this garbage I hear all the time. Black folk commit crimes, so it's a black thing. No, it's not a black thing to go out there and steal from your neighbor. That's just something humans don't do. That's a crime wherever in the hell you do it, anywhere in the damn world. It is not normal for folk to pimp their women out. It is not normal for folk to hold a women. It is not normal for folk to poison their people. And that is insulting, derogatory, and it needs a counter of the harshest sort when somebody starts trying to infer that that is normal for a people to be criminal. It's not. It's not normal for Hispanics to break the law. And I'm sure there are as many loyal Hispanic Americans who are disturbed by this illegal border traffic as there are any other ethnic groups in the country.
Let me play this clip real quick, and then we're definitely moving on to the YSL.
Illegal immigrants. I actually issued a policy in the Department of Homeland Security. We use the term non-citizen to respect the dignity of every individual as a preliminary matter. Second.
God damn it, if you break the law and you're actively breaking it, you don't need any damn dignity.
They say that we don't use the term illegal immigrants. I actually issued a policy in the Department of Homeland Security. We use the term non-citizen.
So the Homeland Security now is telling people to use non-citizen.
What about non-citizens like my ex-mother-in-law, now deceased? She was a non-citizen, but a legal immigrant for almost 60 damn years. She had a green card, a permanent work visa here. She followed the damn law. She was a stickler about law and order. So I'm supposed to think of her as a non-citizen in the same terms as these criminals who are crashing our border? and the same terms as these criminals, including the son of a bitch that just published that, who is engaged in violations of the American law, harboring a fugitive, which is a felony.
Right.
His ass ought to be in jail.
Last topic. YSL trial, right?
Oh, I can hear you. I thought you were on mute.
Mm-mm.
What are we doing here?
Why is this not coming up? All right, let me see. Stop the share. Now let me share. All right, now you can see it. So this would be a funny one, right? Because Fanny, the mammy,
Is the boss of this idiot that we're watching put this circus on, and she ought to be locked up for contempt.
right. So the judge in a YSL case had a yelling match with the prosecutor.
Okay, so I'm going to
This isn't
Are you cutting this out? Did you have discussions with Mr. Sharp, madam?
We did have discussions.
When?
Well, this morning.
That's too late. The evidence is excluded. The evidence is excluded. I'm going to exclude because I told you that this was going to happen. No. We're excluding that, and I'm going to exclude the PowerPoint that you all submitted. Well, you're not going to wholesale introduce it.
We had no intention. Your Honor,
All right.
let's be very clear. We are not going to introduce the PowerPoint today. I personally reached out via telephone and called at least 2 members of the defense team and asked them to call me back. And I would like
But you all should not be identifying this stuff the moment of trial while the jury's sitting in a box. This is the last. I am not going to tolerate this any further. If you don't get together with your colleagues and flag issues and resolve them promptly, and if I have to take them up, remember, I can exclude them. We'll work the weekends, or we'll do a combination of both. So this time, I'm going to exclude those 2 sections.
Your Honor, Mr. Atkins, he confronted this witness with those sections. I last week let them know that we were introducing that.
If the exhibit's not ready and you haven't made, no, well, Mr. Sharp's got objections to it.
Judge, Mr. Sharp can get in and have our evidence excluded every day that he makes an objection
No.
at midnight, and then comes in and says.
Well, then you all should have gotten your stuff together before then. Some of our juries, please. Some of our juries. Have a seat, madam. Have a seat.
Should have gotten your
better
stuff
exclude
together.
it, and
They're
next time,
lazy
make sure
as
you're
shit.
prepared.
Not prepared.
Make sure you're prepared next time. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just not. We are starting right now. It's 1:20. So
We have talked to them. We have said we don't agree.
then file a motion and get it before me, and we'll take it up. Both of you all have equally responsibility to do that.
Information they are seeking.
Oh, it's going to be inadmissible right now.
I'm saying, Judge, that you said to file a motion. There's nothing.
I'm not going to have any more discussion about this, madam. I'm not. I don't. Well, you know what?
And I attempted to try to talk to them earlier this week.
Well, then that's why we have to.
So the court punishes the state because the defense.
I'm not punishing anybody, but but prior preparation prevents poor performance.
Be prepared, Judge. That's why I sent them what I sent them last week, a whole week and a half ago, 2 weeks.
I'm not. Well,
and I have asked. I have said I would like to discuss.
Our jury's coming in, madam. Our jury's coming in. Have a seat.
Did you hear what he said? effectively, get up off your lazy asses and do your job. Don't come in here trying to half step and violate the rules because you were tackheads and you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You've been up in this witch hunt for a long time. Now put it on. By the way, this is the prosecution in the OJ case. This is Marcia Clark and Darden. So what you're looking at right now was worse in that case, which has a great deal to do with the outcome. But of course, Nancy Grace with her sleaze ass didn't put that out there. But it was awful. And this would not have gone on in front of me. It would have been, the court is ruled. Your exceptions are noted for the record. Sit down. Don't you open your mouth again. The evidence is excluded. We will move on. And in the future, the court would strongly suggest that you get off of your duff and do what you're supposed to do, earning your paycheck.
Do you think that she should have been in contempt?
I would have found her in contempt at one point, but I wouldn't have let her go on. That's enough. Sit down.
Right.
Come up. You've noted your. We'll move on.
The first thing that came out his mouth, nope. Evidence is we're not going to.
In other words, what it's about is this. You cannot try a state criminal trial by ambush. You can on the federal level, thanks to Joe Biden, Byrd, and Stennis. They introduced legislation that they sponsored 40-some years ago that allow federal prosecutors to ambush you. On the state level, in every state, the prosecution has to present all evidence, all witnesses, anything they have in their possession or that they could have acquired through the exercise of due diligence so that the defense would have an opportunity to conduct its own independent investigation. They did not. They were either lazy or they claimed some kind of error so they could get away with not advising the defense, so they would be handicapped at trial and would be ambushed. And the judges said they moved to exclude evidence because it was not timely disclosed to the defense. Therefore, the court agrees with them. The evidence is excluded. You jumped up when you knew this was going to happen and you tried to make this outline before the jury. Now, when the jury comes back in here, the court is going to advise it to disregard everything they heard in totality. And by the way, lady, if the defense is to bring it up at a later point and things look like they're going wrong and they wanted to have a mistrial declared, the court might do so. See, you're stupid because irresponsibly, ignorantly, and as a result of your lethargy and doing your job, you set up an appeal so the case is not over with finality unless they acquit the defendant.
Right. So, listen, I'm tired. This case has been going on for 63, the actual trial, 62 days. But prior to that, they were trying to work it out to get to the actual trial. So honestly, this is a complete shit show.
It is. And
it's ghetto. It's wait, and look at the top where you see above where I'm sharing this from on X, Harrison Floyd. He tweeted this. He said, unprofessional, unprepared, unethical. It's no wonder at Fannie for DA employees are turning on her. They know that Fulton County DA office is corrupt, incompetent, and it can't withstand the investigations that are coming. So this is a reflection of her. This is her.
It is. See, shit runs downhill.
Yes.
And ain't nothing coming down here.
The trickle down effect.
Yeah. In other words, the boss has the attitude like she did, walked into the courtroom with her hand on her hip, doing that snake charm thing with her head, talking about, I'm going to testify. And the judge tried to say, ma'am, we're trying to resolve whether or not you need to. Well, I decided I'm going to testify. And then the damn fool went up and gave a classic exhibition of why there's a thing called the Fifth Amendment and incriminated the hell out of herself, threw Wade under the bus, and put her whole office in a questionable light and revealed IRS violations, ethical violations, money laundering likelihood, opportunities to commit criminality, such as where does this cash come from she's giving back to Wade? That's an excellent opportunity to launder money that comes in through misappropriation of public funds that seems to be endemic in Fulton County. So the money goes through her. She gets a cut of the action. So what does she do? She gives cash to Wade so he can launder the money and make it legit by her looking like she's paying back him putting stuff on his charge card so she can give him cash. Where the hell does she get the money cash from since she's supposed to be broke? So, see, all of these things come out from stupidity, and the cupidity, spelled C-U-P-I-D-I, that she has exhibited, which is wrongdoing, is extraordinary. So it's like, this is the boss. The boss acts like a crook. The boss acts like she is the one
incompetent, unprofessional, unethical.
She acts incompetent. She's the one that charged the school teachers with RICO. She's the one that charged the rap artists with RICO because of what they put in their entertainment music.
And now
she's the one that's got an idiot like this who is not being called to the carpet by the DA. So wait a minute, nuh-uh, you can't do this. It is inexcusable. And that judge has too much tolerance. That's one of the reasons this case is drug on for 63 days, because of what I'm looking at, which is the incompetence and lack of preparation by the prosecution. They don't have their shit together. That's the baseline way of saying it. They're trying to delay it, front it off. They're working an injustice, tying up the court's time, because all of this 63 days should be taken in the context of all of the untried, uncharged murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries, armed robberies, drug cases, and everything else that's pending in Fulton County, where they've got people who not only have not been formally indicted as per the administrative requirements of an indictment within 45 days, they've been sitting in jail for years without formal charge. And it is a manifest injustice. There was $7.5 million allocated to clean up this backlog. Where'd the money go? Is that what this woman, Fannie, has been doling out to Wade, supposedly to pay him back, or is that money laundering? See, what happened? And by the way, $720,000 we know about, and this case hasn't even been set for trial. Is this a kickback scheme between Fannie and Wade so that taxpayers' money can be under the table to her? Because she's in charge of having.
Well, I mean, she won't be the only one, because you got the sheriff. It's a lot of.
Oh, the sheriff is just.
Sheriff LaButte, he has accusations against him, misuse of funds. So listen, everybody got their hand in a cookie jar. And honestly, the judges, whether it's the judge McAfee, whether it's this judge, I got to get his name, I'm so sorry, but this judge in the YSL trial, they're sick of the shenanigans.
And by the way, Judge McAfee has been showing an outstanding job. He's doing an outstanding job. A lot of people won't appreciate what he's doing, but I mean, he's 30 some years old, early 30s. He would nominally be too young for the position, but he's an exception to the rule. He's showing us how it's supposed to be done. I understand exactly what he's doing, and he's going to be one hell of a jurist by the time he seasons. He's already one right now. He's one of the better ones I've seen in a long, long time. This judge we just got through looking at, he is somebody that is trying to be too polite to the lady. And it has absolutely nothing to do with being polite. There's a big lady in the room. Her name is Justice. And that lady is getting her bare toes stepped on by this clown representing the prosecution for Fulton County. That is just inept, lazy, and incompetent. And it's disrespectful.
Right. Well said.
I'm offended.
That is it. That is it for tonight. I don't know what is going on with the numbers, but that's okay because uploads are more important. Guys, hit that like button. I have a lot of likes just to be sitting. It's been sitting at 600 all night, but I'll figure that out later on the back end. I want to say thank you to let me make sure I get it right, to Kathy for the Cash App, and I want to say Margie, I got your email. I will be replying. We're going to stay in touch. So I really appreciate you sending me the email with all the advice. Thank you so much. I want to say one last thing, Judge. Real quick. We talked about Diddy probably twice, the whole debacle, right? But it came out recently, Sean, who was a former artist under his label. And I remember when he was dating Jennifer Lopez, this was in the early 2000, probably in 2000 or late 90s. He was involved in a shootout at a club in New York City. I think it was club in New York. And Sean ended up being found guilty for shooting a firearm. And I think the firearm was illegal. And, Puffy got off. He was acquitted. He got off scotch-free. And Sean went to prison, I think, for 7 years or 10 years. But he recently did an interview. He's been out for some time now, for some years now. And he did an interview recently saying that he was the fall guy because he never shot the woman. And the woman that was shot, she's saying that it was Diddy that shot her, and she wants the case to be reopened, and that case may be reopened. So briefly, we talked about this earlier today. Just briefly comment on that. Can that case be reopened? And if so, can Diddy end up going to prison for that?
There is a thing in America called prosecutorial discretion, but that's just a little bit far. You've convicted somebody of the crime, so the part that is being left out is you'd have to do something about his conviction because he's not shown as being an accessory. He's shown as the principal. So how are you going to get somebody else charged with a crime that somebody else has been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty of committing? You see, you have to undo this individual's conviction, set it aside, and then he might become eligible for some action by a state legislature to get himself compensation for the time. But you see, he pled guilty. He took the dive, did he not? Or did he get found guilty? Did he plead guilty or was he found guilty?
Sorry, I was muted. No, he was found guilty. So it says
as a trial.
It was a trial. So this was in 1999. So it says Shine says he's 100% was the fall guy in the 1999 New York City club shooting, for which he did time. And while the shooting victim is pointing the finger at Diddy, Sean isn't quite going there. The ex-Bad Boy star, who did about 8 years in prison over the infamous incident, spoke to the media this week in Belize, where he's now an elected member of the House of Representatives. It's fascinating, Sean says. He tried putting the whole saga behind him, but the renewed online buzz about it, thanks to Rodney Jones' lawsuit against Diddy, has opened old wounds, but he's maintaining his innocence. Sean has been on this drumbeat for years, insisting he didn't do it and that he took the fall for someone else, although he once again stopped short of blaming Puffy.
Well, what does he mean he took the fall?
don't know, but you know what I find ironic?
If you get found guilty by a jury, you aren't taking the fall. You might have been framed. Taking the fall is you admit your guilt. And if you go to trial, is merely a contest over the sentence rather than over your guilt of the offense. Now,
So the woman, Natania Rubin, she was paid $1.8 million by Diddy after the 1999 nightclub shooting, claims Puffy flattened her tires 7 times. Not only did he pew me in the face, he also set off a course of harassment against me for the past 24 years. So the woman that was shot is claiming that Diddy has been harassing her, but he ended up paying her $1.8 million. I look at it like this, because Sean, he's talking with a deep Caribbean accent, but when he came out of prison, he was saying that he was Jewish and he went over to Israel to pay homage or whatever. But now you went back to Belize, where you're from, and you ran for office, and you have this strong Caribbean Belizean accent that you never had before when you were here. So either you were faking to put on an American accent, I don't know, but people flip-flop, and you're not saying Diddy did it, but you saying you was the fall.
okay, all right. When did she say Diddy did it?
Now.
Okay, in the intervening 24, 25 years, you kept your mouth shut and let an innocent person sit in a penitentiary for 8 years, and now you're just opening your mouth up now that you want to jump on the bandwagon and dump on him and maybe get some gravy before he goes broke, if he does go broke.
So it says, if you haven't seen them yet, Natania has posted multiple clips where she details the saga from her POV. She was shot in the face and makes no bones about accusing Diddy of pulling a trigger.
When she started accusing him.
It says, Natalia says she's been telling this to anyone who will listen since it happened, even though Diddy was never charged for doing so.
What about the prosecution? She told the prosecution?
The DA hit Diddy with gun possession and bribery charges related to the incident, but he was acquitted of all charges. Sean, meanwhile, was convicted over the shooting, and like we said, he served time.
Okay, now, Diddy went to trial.
Yeah.
He got acquitted.
Yeah.
What was he charged with at trial?
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
I guess with shooting. It doesn't say exactly here.
We would be charged with possessing a firearm.
Oh, gun possession and bribery charges related to the incident.
If he was found not guilty of bribery, jeopardy attaches to that particular circumstances, and everything that was testified to at the trial that he found himself getting a not guilty verdict from, that establishes jeopardy, even if they called it another offense. So you can't bring him back. So if the allegation against him was you had a pistol in your possession, the pistol was illegal, you fired the pistol, and those are the facts. First off, he would have had to have had a pistol in his possession. Whether or not it's illegal would be moot when it came to the commission of the assault with the weapon. That you fired it, if he's found innocent of firing it, innocent of possession of a firearm, then obviously those are crucial and essential elements to shooting someone with a pistol. So he's been put in jeopardy of facing charges that require conviction of those elements. So it's gone, it's dead, too late.
That's what I said. So, but you know,
jeopardy attached.
But of course, we have the new media, and the new media is our new court system. Apparently, the media is the court system now. You know, so
remember, double jeopardy.
All right, so I mean, good show, good show. I don't like the numbers too much, but maybe because it was the title I had. I don't know. Let me get to a couple of comments, and I did see a super chat. Thank you, Boosted 5.0. Thank you for the super sticker. No phones tonight. I don't feel like it. N Simpson Ed Manfather Mentor says, I missed some of this meeting with a client, but good show. Thank you. Dollar March says, YouTube been falling apart lately. 2024 been wild and going to get wilder. Yeah. Thank you, Chanel. Most of them said they only been here for 6 months. So that's with the migrants. Yeah. Lady.
Yeah, well, I'm not disputing that they may be illegal. I was being sarcastic, by the way. How the hell did they get across the Atlantic Ocean? You can't walk on water unless
They be having thousands of dollars to fly.
Yeah, so if you got those assets, what's that saying about somebody who's got military backing and the backing of Iran, Hezbollah,
Right. All right. Let me
etc.
Yeah, thanks.
Boom.
Wait. Okay, so Lady Died Too says you need to upgrade to an iPhone 20 for some good Wi-Fi. That's for you, Judge. Yes, he does.
Well, my problem is not that. My problem is somebody remotely cloned my phone. And in the investigation, we actually came up with the serial number of the cloned device. We even came up with the trusted phone number that the fool tried to put into the system and what the name is.
Oh, wow.
So that also seemed to have had the contrivance of somebody operating inside of Wells Fargo as well as inside of Apple. So it's not saying that somebody couldn't have gone around and gotten in through the system, but the numbers involved were official numbers for both the bank, Wells Fargo, and to an extent, gave the appearance of being official for Apple.
Right.
So be careful. Several people I know locally have had their phones remotely cloned, not where somebody touched your phone to get the information, but where it was done remotely through the system.
Okay. Dark Prayer says, live from Columbia University, students return to protest live. Okay.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Keep it up. Keep it up, because guess what? X, they dropping all the exclusives of what is happening and been saying, Israel missile strike Iran. And so, yeah, hopefully we're not headed to World War III, but we'll say that for Monday. I don't feel like talking on
Elon Musk. And you know what I think he's doing? He invented PayPal to get the financing to do Tesla, to deal with more environmentally sensitive transportation.
Yeah. Simpson, we're going to talk about, stop, Judge.
Hold on. It's very brief, very brief. I got to get a man his kudos. And then after he got that together, he used the finances that came from Tesla to set up the rocket industry so that humanity will be able to escape the planet. And then he got wait a minute. He got X to maintain free speech, which is why we are getting from him all of these breaking news stories.
I get it.
Nobody else is
okay. I don't want to talk about him right now. Thank you, Simpson. Did you guys talk about Biden administration influence madness in Brazil? No, that could be for Monday, because I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate you. Love you.
Get a beauty rest.
And yes, it's almost midnight. Brazil rigged election for Lula. Yeah.
Dana has to get her beauty rest so she stays pretty.
I actually did too. I need to hire someone, maybe someone with a journalist background or whatever, or going to school for journalism. I need someone to help me with titles. So he used others for these ideas. Okay. All right. Have a wonderful night, everybody. And I have an outro music. I have some outro music. All right. See you on Monday. May see me tomorrow, but you'll see the judge on Monday. Say goodnight, Judge.
Barbecue. JJB.
Yeah, see, I keep forgetting. And you know what? I wrote out the list. I wrote out a list of the flow of the show, and every time when I go off of script, I miss steps, and I got to stop doing that. You could get it at Amazon, the barbecue sauce, or you could go to the website jjbbbq.com.
Judge Joe Brown Barbecue. It's good stuff. Summer's coming up. Get yourself some so you can practice with it.
All right.